Okay, hopefully you guys are having a beautiful day. It is really, really cold outside. So hopefully you guys are bundling up with you guys' jackets and you got sweaters and just all the above because it is cold. Okay. So y'all bear with me. So I had a dream last night. I had two dreams last night that was disturbing. But for some reason, us dreamers, the Most High always have us going to the shadow end, okay? That's where all the revelations are coming from, is the shadow end. And then we come back to the light and we share what we seen, right? So I had wrote it down basically in my journal. Y'all know I keep a journal with me by my bed, and I write down things so that I won't forget. So So it, oh my gosh, I was warned last night. You know, it was spiritual warfare last night on a high level. There's a lot of witches and warlocks near this area that I'm at right now, but there's also witches and warlocks from a far distance as well. They are trying to deal with themselves. Remember, we're a mirror. We show people who they is, and a lot of folks don't like it. So they take their anger out on us. So do not ever think it's you the reason why, people are, coming at you crazy, or, they're trying to argue with you or trying to project on you all the time. It's because you're showing them who they is, and they know the work that they know what they gotta do to put the work in to heal themselves and deliver themselves from evil, because it's a lot shown. You show them a lot about themselves that they don't want to come to the knowledge of. Okay. So I had a lot of spiritual warfare because of that same reason. And it took me to a dream. Okay. I kept waking in and out of that dream because it was very disturbing. Okay. So for some reason, I was placed in this refugee camp type place. It felt like a prison. Okay. But what it was given was like a refugee camp. Okay. And it was a bunch of people, right? And they were so innocent souls. You know, they were very innocent, like pure souls there. And I was just like looking around. I was like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. You know, there's like little children there. There was adults there as well. But you could tell like their energy was very pure. They mean well with according to their energy. I don't really know them, but you could sense what a person is based off of their energy, right? And I didn't feel no evil in their energy. I didn't feel, any negative energy. I felt they were beautiful souls, like me, myself, and you guys. And I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be beautiful. This is gonna be, oh, okay, this is gonna be a good dream. I'm gonna be interacting with like-minded individuals like myself. Negative. And when I opened the door and I got into the other side, this is when it became horrific. I seen so many disgusting parasites, and they were walking around. And I'm like, okay, now come on, man. I'm like, oh, here we go again. And they were walking around with this cocky, smirk on their face, and they're walking around like, they was in authority, And I'm like, okay, what happened, And then I see a lot of beautiful souls, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, okay, so why is light and dark mixed together? Like, what is this? It can never be, So as I'm walking around, I see that the spiritual chains. Now, this is something that you gotta have spiritual eyes to, because we, like us, walking around the earth, right? It's like me walking around the earth. I'm looking at other people, right? That's how it was in a dream, except I had spiritual eyes to see that these beautiful souls were chained to parasites, to dark entities, right? They were chained to them. They were walking around, but they were chained to these parasitic dark entities. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way, And a lot of them didn't know, and a lot of them did know. Like, some of them did know that they were chained to these dark entities, and they were trying to escape to get out. And there was a lot of them that they didn't know. They didn't know they were bound to one. And what these nasty, it was one of the parasites over there sitting there, and they were just like obese, and they were just like, had their mouth open, like, and I was like, ugh, that's disgusting. And what was going on was they had their mouth open because they was siphoning the energy off this, light divine being that was just like walking around and just doing whatever, all their activities, doing whatever activity that they do on a normal basis. This giant, nasty, obese parasite was just having their mouth open, sucking like literally the life, span out of this divine being. And I was sitting there like watching it. I was just walking around and I was just seeing this, and I was just like, rebuking. I was like, praying over them. And I was like literally talking to the Most High, like, what is going on? Like, how's this happening? Right. And then I walked down the street and I, for some reason, got into like some other space, some other dark space, in the dream as I was walking. And there was some that was notified of what was happening to them and they tried to escape. They tried to escape, this beast that was trying to chain them and bind them to them so they can siphon all their energy and all their life force. And what happened was, it was like four of them got away. And this was like spiritual, so this deity was like flying after the four, the four divine ones who got away. And they, I don't know how dreams are, y'all, but I'm in and out the dream, right? So I'm vanishing, to where the four, the four ones who got away. And then I try to find them and I can't find them, right? But then as I'm walking down the street, I'm seeing, the flyers of it being like a missing person. And I'm looking at the flyers and it's these, the ones who got away. It's the four divine ones who got away. And as I'm looking at the flyers, it's saying that, they're wanted for murder. You know what I'm saying? It's saying that, they're wanted for, some type of charges or some type of illegal crime that they done, but in my intuition, it was stated that was lies. It wasn't. They didn't do any crime. They shouldn't be on the list being wanted for nothing because they didn't do anything. It was the enemy's way of trying to trap them and bind them back in some way, somehow, in some type of refugee camp. If it's not in the refugee camp that they left off of, they were trying to get them locked up in a prison refugee camp or in some type of psych ward. Because it was another flyer that was stated of someone had ran and they was wanted because they escaped the psych ward, like the solemn, and that was fake. Like the spirit was letting me know that was fake as well. They're not mentally ill, but they're painted to be this person and this character so that they can be in some type of refugee camp or around some dark entity, parasite, so that they can siphon their energy, And then I was taken back, I woke up, and it made so much sense to a lot of divine beings on earth, how, they would place you, like they would try their hardest to place you around these parasites. These people that have parasites in them that are low in vibration, and they will be ill. They will have so much so much health issues and so much, risks of life and death situations if they don't, be close to a divine like being so that they can siphon their energy. So what they do is they try to, get you in a vulnerable situation if it's caught up in crimes. If it's lying on your character, putting you in the list of you should be watched and you should be monitored and you should be placed this way and you should be rejected this way, trying to control your narrative of you being where you're supposed to be, away from these parasites, and the only thing that you could be accepted in is being around parasites. It was not a coincidence. It was because of this very reason and what I seen in the dream. They needed you to be somewhere locked up in some type of refugee camp. If it's in the neighborhood refugee camp, you know, and you locked up there to where you can't get a job. You're low in finances to where you can't go nowhere, because everywhere that you go, it's money. You need money. You need money to travel. You need money to pay for things. You need money to survive. So, you know, they try to afflict your money so that, you know, you will be bound to this city, this state, you know, where a bunch of parasites are, so they can continue siphon off your energy. You could be bound in a job, you know, where a bunch of parasites is, where, you know, you can't get another job. So you bound to that job to where they siphoning your energy. You could be literally dealing with so much legal issues, far as, you know, the law, to where you're bound to the, you know, to that refugee camp, to where, you know, you have to do time of something that you may have not done, or maybe it shouldn't have never been taken it that far, to where you got 10 years, to where you got 15 years, to where you got 20 years, to where now you're bound to that refugee prison. You know, it's somewhere that they want you to be bound to these parasites, so that they can siphon your energy. And that's what I had seen, and that's what it was so disturbing. And what I was told, you know, like what I was like given this revolution, was a lot of divine ones are going to be elevated to where you can get out of these situations of being bound to a parasite, being bound to a low vibrational, nasty, disgusting deity that's siphoning your life force. So those who got an ear to hear, stay fearfully and stay wonderfully made.